Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first and last word poetry series. I'm Gloria Mindak, one of your hosts, and Harris Gardner is the other. And actually, speaking of Harris, he's our first reader tonight. Harris is the author of Chalice of Eros, co-authored by Lainie Senechal, No Time for Death, 2 chapbooks, and over 60 publications. He is poetry editor of Ibbetson Street, co-founder of Tapestry of Voices, and the Boston National Poetry Month Festival with Lainie Senechal. Recipient of the Ibbetson Street Lifetime Achievement Award, a citation from the Mass House of Representatives, and the recipient of the Sam Cornish Award from the New England Poetry Club last year. And I give you Harris.
Thank you, Gloria. Well, I'm going to do something a little different, but people are kind of used to me opening my features with another poet other than myself. And I hopefully it's not getting old. And a number of you have not heard me do it before. It's The Second Coming by William Butler Yeats. So here's William Butler Yeats's The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming, hardly are the words out when a vast image out of spiritus mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a vast shape with lion body, head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast is hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. That was a very cheerful poem. And Yeats wrote it after the conclusion of the Russian Revolution, when things were quite chaotic. This next poem is called Full of Promise. The heart and mind ponder the rise of envy and hate in a fractured, broken world. Venomous rhetoric shapes thoughtless minds empty of reason. This country is running on fumes. One half is a barren mental wasteland. Thankfully, the other half is green with promise and possibilities. Hopefully, wisdom will prevail. Okay, it's a little more cheerful. This one is called A Few Crumbs. Winter light is fragile in the afternoon. The eager moon appears some hours before the sun surrenders and yields to the queen of night sky. Soon commuters will travel on rumbling trains that traverse complaining tracks. The loud squeal of old and new wheels pulsate. Women are beginning to break through cracking glass ceilings. Custodians sweep shards into corroding dust bins. In late night station, a mouse is foraging for a few discarded crumbs. When early morning glimmers, the rodent is safely concealed asleep. The working world repeats, surviving on half-empty promises and a barely half-full cup in the race to the bottom line. I thought it was more cheerful. I thought it was going to be more cheerful. Okay. I'm going to read a couple from my my current collection called No Time for Death, published by Savannah Barber Press. So this one is called Stopwatch. Let's start by shredding all the odd years, then take a match to all the evens, slice and dice all the minutes until they bleed white. Pound in a block to slow the growling gears. Mortar and pestle the grinding seconds, blunt their bite. Smash all the clocks, yes, the craven cuckoo too. Fast forwarding the film frames few regrets, though the mirror shows the sweep hand rounding your face. There is no crystal case to, uh, to hold your works. It's not time's business to offer you perks. The crushing riptide crinkles your crown. Worn out, you may drown still in the shallows. Your mind stores snapshots, both fuzzy and clear. Photo albums freeze mortality's stare. The lens is keen, it sees what it sees. The present deep cleans an encrusted past, then polishes it to a pristine sheen. Future scenes left alone develop on their own. Pare away the wrinkled pages, strip bare temporal confusion. Vanity's illusion brooms the dust. Search the phases of your soul. Find the clock, make it whole. When the keeper sleeps, he loosens control. Oops. This one is kind of a little rollicking. It's called Que Sera Maybe. The best period of my life was. My thoughts meander beyond the horizon, detour back from dead-end streets, toe stubborn rocks that poke up their heads to see what stirs lazy layers of dust. Feet bleed on thorns of decapitated roses, penance for the breakout, rampaging ideas that refuse to return when called home for dinner. Seeds drop in other gardens, grow organic groceries for perhaps more deserving palates. I won't recognize the best days ahead, behind or now, as they saunter by, dressed in top hats and tails. No, make that red checkered shirts, open collars and jeans, better attire to kneel on fresh turned land and nurture what remains. Solid food with a liberal sprinkle of spice, otherwise bland. Que sera maybe. Have to get me some rope and corral those doggies. No need to have them wander across some other pasture. Okay, now this is a genuine death poem. I'm sorry. It's called No Time for Death. It's the title poem. Time counts down for all of us. 10, 9, 8. None appreciate its flight, the path of no return. Too often we do a slow burn on a short fuse, a little fizzle, a stutter, then it's a boom, baby. Our ashes rain down on every abandoned plane called nowhere. No time to complain, to prepare. Not a moment left to reflect, to regret, are laying waste to all our powers. Time is an arbitrary asset. When we shatter the fragile hours, nothing remains in the bone man's sack. We cannot choose to refuse the invitation. We can only walk the walk on the streets of the dead. We can offer up prayers for life on some prefab plane where the CFO keeps a brittle book of our days. Maybe the weights will bounce in our favor. Maybe we shall come back to clean up loose ends. Maybe the sentence gets upended, gets suspended. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Will you stop for one forsaken minute? Okay, there's another. I'm going to do a new one. This is called In Search of Shalom. in the green season. Shalom, most people know it to mean peace, but it also means hello and goodbye, as well as peace be with you. The rivers of rain have departed, as if with a wave of a wizard's wand, the green season has returned. Daffodils and forsythia are proliferating. Though nature will prevail, there is no crystal ball to divine when the mundane chaos of humankind will dwindle to near invisibility. Where is the pause button to cause the disparate factions to stop and reflect that the survival of our species requires all of us to come together in a common cause? If we remain stuck in escalating cycles, there will be no shalom, only goodbye. Then future visitors may theoretically inquire, hello, is anyone there? See if I can, I have one here that's, I'm going to do a villanelle. It's called Until the Last Recorded Dime. When you have been broke a very long time, you forgo the champagne, but not the beer. Such is life when you live from dime to dime. Here's a defty complaint, you play the rhyme, the mime. You look in the mirror and face down fair when you have been broke a very long time. You must defer to your reason and rhyme. To make the ascent, you shift to first gear. It's never easy, life from dime to dime. You can't stop the hands, the clock tolls the chime. So you grin and concoct a mask of cheer when you have been broke a very long time. Your efforts ease you into the sublime. You move to the beat only you can hear. You adapt when you live from dime to dime. Each day you wash away more of the grime. Your mind is full, but your focus is clear. You manage to manage after a time. No more holding your breath from dime to dime. Just watching real quick. Okay, I think I get 2 or 3 more minutes. This is, I wrote this poem after my first visit to my cardiologist. It's called So You Want to Be in Films. Act 1, Scene 1, Take 1. A genetic aberration, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. I can't even pronounce it. My heart has become a star. Hello, Hollywood, goodbye. My pulsing muscle stays here with me. I can't bear to be apart from it. The MRI, the camera covers all the angles close up and long shots. My heart is a ham. It performs an unscripted dance. A cocoon immerses me in Mozart's music. A tunnel floods with light. Still, I want to dream. The technician keeps me alert. Breathe, exhale, hold your breath. I'm drowning in light. Film flashes forward, visit to the cardiologist, an exchange of jests. About the murmur, what's it saying? Then a picture chart explains the challenges. To monitor the murmured refrain, a new take on the telltale heart. Asymptomatic, no pain or related symptoms, no end credits to roll. Then the pièce de résistance, the specialist flips a switch. There it is, stage center, the star. The doctor shows the area of the third rail, moderate aortic stenosis, case not closed. Not a 5-star rating, edgy, no holds barred. Thoughtful, provoking, more than a lifetime of performances. No beta blockers yet, no edited film, no cutting board projected. For now, the hot frets are minor. Later is a distant day. This is a wrap. Do I have time for one last poem? Okay, this one is definitely cheerful if I can find it. It's Sorry, I should look at the table of contents. It's called, yeah, hold on. I know the poem, and I should have, I thought I had here it is. It's called Addiction. And it's a confession because I have an addiction. And a lot of people probably have this addiction. It does not seem to be a sound solution to make a New Year's resolution to cure my aggravating albatross addiction. It may be a rather facile prediction that if sweets will determine my termination or my Tootsie Pop terra firma. Hello, I am. Who are you? My anonymous name tag boldly declares me to be a chocoholic. I have paced and retraced the 12 exact steps to the kitchen cabinet where the cocoa treats are stored. My affliction is ironic, like being gored by a bull in a colorful candy kiosk. Mounds of mint Girl Scout cookies have mounted a retreat. I'm beginning to tremble like a milkshake in a blender. I grope for the last bar of Godiva. Gone. My barren cupboard marks me. Chocolate chips were preemptively chucked into forgotten waste bin. Brownies have staged their last stand. No crumbs, even to sustain a mouse. The final tinseled kiss slid down the chute of my tongue. Its echoed sigh resounded in its ultimate meltdown. And Lord, protect me from the temptation of Siren Reese's Pieces. Shall I venture then to make a visit in my voracious quest to the convenience store? Maybe just a pint of fudge swirl ice cream. My chocolate dreams are becoming nightmares. Dare I go and dare I go cold turkey? That should be the golden key to my guided future recovery. Perhaps now, just a wee flute of chocolate liqueur. This year, I resolve to indulge no more in my holy grail pursuit of face you demons chocolate, even if to the sound of sacred music, the ultimate hot fudge sundae should rise from the deepest heated pit. Thank you.
Thank you, Harris. And the first poem you read by Yeats, Joni Mitchell put that to music years ago. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. If not, pull it up on YouTube. It's amazing. I don't remember what album it's on, but it's really something else. Um, okay, so our next reader is Anne Elizabeth Pluto, and she's a professor of literature and theater at Lesley University, where she is the artistic director of the Oxford Street Players. She is an alumna of Shakespeare and Company and was a member of the Shakespeare Company. I cannot say the city, so I'm going to say the W City from 2011 to 2016. She was a member of the Boston small press scene in the late 1980s and is one of the founders and editors at Nixes Mate Review and Nixes Mate Books. She has two full-length collections, The Deepest Part of Dark and How Many Miles to Babylon. And I give you Annie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for asking me. And it's wonderful to read with Harris and Tom again. So I'm going to start with a poem that we just published in Nixes Mate of Karen Friedland's, just because I'm thinking about her. So it's called A Late Bouquet. Do not, good friend, spiral into despair. Yes, you're terminal. That's why it's imperative to bask in every succulent moment of this breezy 70-degree mild November day. Weird, but hey, with its surprising red and pink roses opening up all over. Behold your life's unexpected second bloom. So, I don't know if I have happy poems today, but we'll go from there. So this poem is called I Wish Wisława Szymborska Could Edit My Poems. We would meet in the space between terror and delay, in a room lined with books, and drink tea from bone china cups. She would pore over my lines with the eye of a phoenix and translate my meager imaginings into the mother tongue I cannot yet speak. I would not answer in my diminishing Russian vocabulary, parting the lace curtains and levitating towards the east. I am moving backwards with every book I read, and she is there, solitary figure at the desk, cigarette smoke curling above her head, waiting in the corridor reserved only for the dead. So this one is for Anna Akhmatova, who's one of my other favorite poets. And this one's called Akhmatova in Paris with Modigliani. You had immigré status, a hole through the fence, where the avenues circled around the river. Spring bloomed in eternal resurrection. The cold, the war, the dead, the silver era left behind for just a short time. You were courted by artists, you lovely tall girl. Your crow-black hair, he painted it blue in the portrait, blue in his hands, blue in the bed, where everyone and everything could be forgotten, where death was as close as breathing in the Paris spring through the window, where you had tossed your blue silk stockings on the chair. You chose not to remain. The motherland was calling. The blood and souls would need your voice. You left. The hole in the fence repaired with iron, and you never looked back. This next one is for my 10th grade biology teacher who truly saved my life, and she died in 2020. So this one is called Mother to Remember for MKS. Your yurtzeit will arrive on the 20th of Av, 5780. Dog Day, August, 8th month, 10th day. The magus twirling the Yitzker flame into silver tracks. I haven't been back to Brooklyn since before we knew the pandemic would take us all under. That didn't kill, you fell on the emerald carpet staircase. Hemorrhagic stroke, husband, housekeeper, doctor, neighbor, call 911. Sirens rush to Maimonides. You never woke up. By the third day, it was decided. They came in pairs and said goodbye. I wasn't there. Joined the funeral by Zoom, reduced to the broken, angry girl whose life you saved in 11th grade. I didn't get to say goodbye. No photograph remains. I saved your letters, spider penmanship and blood maroon ink. You were my favorite teacher who lived in my favorite house on my favorite street. The subway stops recede on the BMT tracks. The silver train pulls out of the station. This is no longer home. All is memory and distance. All is love and love and love. This one's called When I Seek Out the Damned. It's a long tunnel, something we crept in as children. hunched over in our make-believe worlds of follow the leader, cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians, red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. Let me count again. One gunman and how many Texas lawmen in the hallway? The rounds of repeating AK-15 reverberate on CNN. The lawmen run backwards. This isn't how it's supposed to be, a Western movie. The guy with the badge and the big hat always moves forward, even if he doesn't win. So I think many of you have heard, well, not many of you, some of you have heard some of these other poems. My husband was in home hospice care for 6 months, and he passed away in January of 2022. So I'm going to read 3 of these poems, and then I'll end with something I just finished writing about a week ago. So this is a love poem. Valentine. On my desk, the winter sun streams through the 3rd floor windows. You are there framed twice. Once before we met in another country, the sun in your eyes. The second after we had found each other's heart open and willing, you ride a bay horse. The prairie winds to the endless horizon. Your hair blown off your face that looks away from the camera. I've thrown the papers on the floor in careless surrender and step around them. The clock hums on the wall, the music plays through me, the quiet room, my heart beating. 2,000 miles west between the photographs, the snow and ice come as if to baptize the winter hours, short days to long nights. You will come east to me, the journey of a star already risen, the sun behind you, the horse tethered, the Milky Way ahead, the silver moon in my hair. Throw a rope around the constellations and bring it all to me. This one's called Chess. We played quite a bit of chess when he was in hospice care. There is no playbook for the dead, the dying, the caretakers, the family. Hospice provides a map. Drugs arrive delivered right to the front door. Nurses, chaplains, social workers, volunteers, contraptions, beds that breathe throughout the day and night, oxygen that becomes a lullaby, sheets of paper to keep score, morphine 4, patient 0, Haldol 5, patient 0. Syringes filled to the correct line, gently insert in the inside of his cheek. That didn't hurt until the end. We play chess, the set that arrived from Istanbul. I always play for Salah ad-Din, you for Richard and his Templars. I walk you through every move. I let you win, and then the knights, the pawns, the queens, the rooks, the imams and bishops, the king and sultan get put away. I have not opened them since that day. It hurts to see them in their splendor. One's called El Paso, so I'll read this and then the new one. I thought perhaps you were here. The house so dark that even the dead could find their way back. How is it that you are gone? I tried to find the portal the hole in the sky that would open and you would rise from your broken body and touch the gate. Where those ponies, lost in childhood to terrible accidental deaths, were whole and grazing, lifting their magnificent heads in weight, and you, a child in a big hat, broken in boots and silver spurs with jingle bobs that sing and rake the pasture. The trail you leave behind only a hole in the sky, the wolf moon beckoning forward, the house silent, the dog finally at rest. The winter, this winter, and you in that Texas pasture, tenderly resting your face in the neck of your first pony, the paint horse from El Paso. Let everything be made holy again. And I'm going to read a new poem, which I just realized reading this other poem, I had certain themes or images that follow me. So this one's called No Horses, No Ice. I've been warned. If I fall, my bones might fracture. Broken like stars, an explosion of my very own Milky Way. I cried for a month, left my hockey skates on the back seat of the car, a sad reminder of how I used to escape. I have enough angst to skate the harbor. Just let it freeze over and I will take winter back as a lover. So much for fairy stories. I've come to an arrangement. I watch my students play hockey. They get me rinkside and every smash, slam, slash, bang is up close and pressing, full of compromised adrenaline and cold camaraderie. They're the #1 team in the nation, predicted to take home the Frozen Trophy. I watch, drawn to the visceral memory of stepping onto the frozen surface of another planet, where you move in spite of danger, and learning to fly becomes second nature. I never tell them. I'm there for support, to see them in their joy, study how they fall, heads up, shiny white helmets and big eyes open like harbor seals, jumping up to fly like horses into a constellation of their own making, every one of them a star. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. And thank you for reading that poem by Karen Friedland. For those of you that know her, she recently died of ovarian cancer, and she was a friend of ours. And our next poet is Ed Meek. He has had work in the Boston Globe magazine, WBUR's Cognoscenti, Yankee Magazine, the Boston Review, Bloom, the Sun, and the Paris Review. His most recent books are High Tide, which are poems, and The Luck, short stories. And I give you Ed.
Thank you, Gloria, and thanks, Gloria and Harris, for inviting me. Nice to read again with Harris and Annie. So I'm going to read a couple of poems from High Tide, and then some new poems. This first one is called The Crossing Guard. I used to see this older gentleman who was a crossing guard just down the street from me every morning in Somerville. You can't miss the crossing guard, the luminescent lemon drop at the corner each day. He waits with the patience of Job, ready to perform his sacred duty. With hands as old as vines twisted by time, he holds the divine red lollipop, its simple command in 4 black letters. When he raises his arm, bikes, cars, and trucks, like well-trained soldiers, grind to a halt as he ferries the children across the dangerous divide. He'll be there at the river to help us on board, hold the ferry steady when the wind picks up or the currents are strong. Are you ready? He'll ask, smiling. The last words we'll remember as we embark and watch the shore fade away before we turn to face the wind and whatever lies ahead. Well, all right. Well, this is a poem called Sigh, about sighing. It's a relief sometimes, this single note from a forgotten song, carried by breath like a wave by wind. It escapes unintentionally before you can stop it, causing you to pause between thoughts or at the tail end of a moment. An afterthought or a prelude or an afterword, a giveaway or maybe a clue to life or death. Isn't that last exhale a sigh? The wave dissipating on an unknown shore? It's a poem called Angel Falls, which is, I think it's the biggest falls in the world. And it's triggered by a quote, the quote by Heraclitus, "No man steps into the same river twice." I keep stepping into the same river over and over again. Sometimes I slip and fall in. Usually it's cold, but not always. It's deep enough to swim, and I do. Upstream, of course, fighting against the current, just like Fitzgerald said. But finding my own rhythm, totally immersed, 3 strokes, then catch some air, often getting nowhere fast. Nonetheless, I swim on and find the shore just before the waterfall. I'm not going through that again. That's such a ridiculous poem. Yeah, right. On a more serious note, this is called Ghost Bikes, and it's for Amanda Phillips, who was hit by a truck. She was from Cambridge. In case you missed the story of the barista struck by a truck in Inman Square in Cambridge, a ghost bike painted white occupies a corner, roses and lilies sprouting from the frame. White bikes lean against metal poles from Detroit to Boston, Amsterdam to Seattle. Some are twisted and broken, others look like new. They carry the memories of riders, blindsided, doored, cut off by cars, buses, and trucks. Seats empty where a person once was. Handlebars, hands free, brakes untouched. Signs say cyclists struck here, as if we didn't know. As if we didn't know what happens when a woman on a bike swerves around an open car door to find a truck closing in on her like a ship colliding with a dock, shattering the dream she had for med school, marriage, kids, a condo in Cambridge. Unlike your everyday spirits, these ghost bikes are not invisible. We can see them with our own eyes, stark and skeletal, bleached as bones by the sun. I'm going to read a few newer poems. This one is called Great Pond. I was down the Cape one day and swimming alone in this pond in the spring, and they have these kettle ponds down there that are really beautiful. They're surrounded by trees and the water's crystal clear. I was swimming alone late one September afternoon at Great Pond in Wellfleet when I spotted 2 horses emerging like apparitions from the woods. Two young girls rode them bareback with ropes for reins. They were lithe and lovely, wearing nothing but swimsuits and tans. I thought they were stopping for water, but the girls rode their horses right into the pond, slipped off their backs, and swam beside them, ropes in hand, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Then they slid back on and rode the horses out, disappearing into the woods. I was momentarily jealous how privileged they were, but the beauty of the scene buoyed me up as I floated on my back, staring at the vast expanse of the sky. This is a poem called Asteroidea, which is the Latin name for a starfish, which is really kind of strange. Asteroidea. And I had a starfish at home, and it's such a strange creature. So I looked it up. You may have had an inkling a starfish isn't a fish at all, but a sea star, a fallen angel. Are you happy or sad to know it doesn't have a heart or a brain, a thought or a care in the world? Still, this puzzling echinoderm hungers like the rest of us and scours the sea with the eyes at the end of its arms, for shellfish and coral to devour with the mouth at the center of its body. Those tiny stems beneath the arms are legs. They keep it on the move, like the stars above. Okay, this poem is called Anthropocene. So they almost named this era the Anthropocene, but they kind of drew back because they had to confront these geologists who, they want eras to be really major. But it's getting there. And so this is based on I was on this safari with my wife, and I was sitting in a Jeep with a guide, and there was a lion that was looking up at a young leopard in a tree. And I said to the guide, why doesn't the lion climb up the tree and eat the leopard? And he said, well, the lion can climb up the tree, but he can't climb down. Anthropocene. The turkeys like to sleep in the trees. Oh, there's another thing. Turkeys sleep in the trees at night. I don't know whether you've noticed that or not. They fly up. It's really bizarre. The turkeys like to sleep in the trees, though it isn't easy for them to get to bed. They crane their waffled necks, trot a few ungainly steps, and lift their plump bodies off the earth to fly up and roost on a branch for the night, away from insatiable coyotes and men. They seek the safety of trees like leopards escaping lions. Lions can climb up and eat the leopard, our safari guide tells us, but they can't get back down. We are not the turkeys in this poem. We are the lions, and we have climbed up the tree and eaten the leopard. All right, this is a narrative poem about my extended family, my father's side of the family, where there was quite a bit of drinking. This is called Crown Royal, which is a type of whiskey. My father didn't drink because his father and his brothers drank too much. My grandfather's weakness, Crown Royal, cloaked in a blue velvet pouch, cost what he made in a day, tuning the cars of Milton until they hummed. He loved to sing the Irish songs whenever he was soused. But when my dad took the bottle away from the table after Easter dinner, his brother Bobby sucker punched him. I was 11, ready to kill, but my dad, an ex-Marine, held back, gathered my mother, my siblings, and me, and retreated home as his eye swelled and colored. The youngest, Donnie, turned to booze when his brother Bobby ran the gas station into the ground. He took cash from the till to play the horses. He drank when they won and he drank when they lost. Of course, he lost much more than he won. All right, this is another drinking song. It's called Hungover Sundays. And I don't know if you remember this stuff from when you were young, but those hungover Sundays were actually fun. There was something about sitting around. We would tell all these crazy stories that we wouldn't think of normally. A lot of them had to do with drinking, I think. But anyway, hungover Sundays. I remember those days would straggle out of bed at midday like ragged cats and gather the pride in the great room, draped over worn couches and reclaimed chairs, licking our wounds while nursing headaches with Bloody Marys, recounting stories of collisions with trees, stone walls, and windshields. We survived before seatbelts required and designated drivers, and the times we'd been jumped, fights we'd gotten into and pulled each other out of, nights we'd blacked out and woke in strange beds in backyards and the back seat of strangers' cars, and girls who picked us up or who we picked up, beautiful, crazy, sexy, ugly girls we wish we could remember or forget. We'd roar until our heads began to clear. We'd laugh until our sides stitched and we were ready to break out the beer. All right, this is a poem called Storm Warnings, and it's kind of came out of those fires from last summer when the sky turned that strange color, and it was really bizarre. Storm warnings. You can't say we weren't warned by the smoke from wildfires that ignored our borders, invaded our lungs, and stung our eyes. The smoke hung in the sky, a strange orange fog blocking the sun. Still, we were surprised at the rain that flooded our fields and streets with streams and makeshift lakes, and the hurricanes that washed up boats like toys, leveling houses and undertowing sand back to sea, while we turned a blind eye and dragged our feet in the mud. And just a couple more poems. This one is called, this was written for a contest about Lincoln. And it starts, the title is a quote from Lincoln, "Freedom and the dignity it contains." And then I found this quote by Lincoln about a visit he made to Massachusetts. "With hayseed in my hair, I went to Massachusetts, the most cultured state in the Union, to take a few lessons in deportment." His humility seems so foreign in our narcissistic age, a page from a book we can no longer read. And yet the seeds of hope he planted sprout in the spring in our hearts. We search for the conviction and courage he displayed, fighting to preserve not only his ideas of freedom and the dignity it contains, but the union of a land divided still today, blinded by bigotry and hate. How easy it is to blame others for our faults. Like another Abraham, he was called to recreate a nation. He stood firm to all assaults as if already carved in rock. And though he was finally slain, his efforts point the way to the path we need to follow if we're to emerge from darkness into the light of a new day. And one more poem. So this is called Soul Train. I don't know if any of you remember a television show called Soul Train from the 70s, I guess it was, in 80s. Don Cornelius was the MC, and he played music, soul music, and had dancers. It was a great show. So this comes from this idea I heard these people arguing about on, I think it was on Twitter, whether you can use the word soul in a poem. And some people were saying yes, you can, and some people were saying no, it's overused, you can't use it. All right. So it's called Soul Train. Some words are hard to use in poetry. Take the word soul. It takes some nerve. You need to approach it carefully, like a black bear or a moving train, unless you're referring to a shoe or a type of music, or if it's attached to a train with the train as the caboose. Otherwise, you'd better tread lightly when it comes to references to a person's inner being or essence, what you look for and find, if you're lucky, like I am, in a mate. Thank you.